Hi, I'm Jeremy. Thanks for stopping by and viewing my episode here on abortion and what's going on with Texas, where I live here. They have passed a bill that's legalized abortion, but only up to 6 weeks of pregnancy. And it went up to the Supreme Court, and it's there right now. And they're looking as if there's something that can be ruled upon it, and it looks like there can't be. And it's because the people who would press charges on someone doing an illegal abortion, it's not the government that's going to do it. It would be just regular people. If I knew that somebody was having an abortion, then I would have to press charges against that person, against that hospital, the doctor, everyone that's involved with it. It would be up to me to do it. It sounds stupid to me, and it's because why would I? Why would anybody do that? If you want to, from what I understand, is that you could still have the abortion after 6 weeks. But it would have to be a citizen who takes it to court, which would mean that you would also have to take away from your time and I guess pony up the money to go to court and maybe get a lawyer. Why would anyone do that? I don't know if you would need to pony up the money for a lawyer or not, but going to court, it costs money. So I'm a landlord, and that whenever a tenant doesn't pay rent, I have to take him to court, and I have to pay on that. It's not a whole lot, but it's definitely enough money that it's like, yeah, you could definitely do some different things with that money, and it'd be fun, and it'd be well worth it. You're spending some money, you're spending some, and then why? Why would you do it? What are you going to get out of it? You just stop someone from getting an abortion? So technically, if someone wanted to get an abortion right up to the moment of birth, legally in Texas, they can. All you have to do is just find someone who would do the abortion basically in private. You just wouldn't tell anybody. Because, yeah, you wouldn't be able to hide. The girl, for example, wouldn't be able to hide that she had an abortion because it's like, oh, here you are, you're pregnant, and now you're not. You were about ready to give birth. They wouldn't be able to hide that. But if she's the only one who knows, then how's anybody ever going to know? Same thing if it was someone who was doing it 7 weeks into it. I see it as a loophole. I see it as a political stunt. I don't see it as really dealing with anything. So I wanted to touch up as to what we've gone over with abortion. And so, as I often try to say with these things, because I have them just right here on the page, is that I'm not trying to change anyone's mind. I just want to show that there's lying that's going on. I don't care if it's intentional or not. It's up for you to decide. I just want to bring the information to your attention, so in that way you can decide for yourself what it is that you want to do in these things. Definition is being defined as the ending of a pregnancy by removal or expulsion of an embryo or fetus. Whenever it's just a clump of cells, I really don't care. But as it becomes more and more of a fetus, it's like I have more and more issue with that. I think there's two questions that's going on here. One is the moral question, and two is the scientific question. So the moral question is it right or wrong to have an abortion? And moral questions are usually going to be guided upon what it is that you believe religiously. So Christians are going to have a view towards it that's going to be different than Muslims, it's going to be different than Jews, it's going to be different than Hindus, it's going to be different than Buddhists, it's going to be different than atheists. Who's right or who's wrong? Well, we don't know, because we don't know if there's even a God or not. And if there is a God, which God? Is there more than one? We don't know. People don't die and come back to tell us. So everybody's making their own guess to this. One side of the argument is that is a human being, and all human beings have human rights, including the right to not be intentionally killed. Therefore, the unborn human being has human rights. It's like, yes, but where does that happen? And in this Texas bill, once there's a heartbeat, which is roughly like 6 weeks, supposedly this is like the earliest time that not all countries have any regulation with abortion. That there's only, I don't know how many it is, but in this video here, this is Texas heartbeat law and SCOTUS ruling explained by Viva and Barnes, and this is a highlight. They usually have stream. Goes on for, I think, an hour or two. I've never watched one, but I always see it come up. The channel is Viva Fry. He's a Canadian lawyer, and he talks to an American lawyer here, Barnes. And I think he's the one, I think he's representing a high case, a high-profile case. I think the Catholic kids, that Native American. I have it paused right here because Jessica here brings up this. The reason abortion is such a diverse issue is that we are the only country that abortion was settled by the courts instead of the legislature. And Barnes was like, yeah, that's exactly what happened here. That Roe versus Wade should not have been a court case. It should have been an act of legislature that should have gone through Congress, through the House of Representatives, and through the Senate. It's like, yeah, that's right. That's the way that it should have been, or still should be. I'm not going to play any part of this video. I'm not a lawyer. He uses some legal jargon that I'm not all familiar with, and I don't give a damn to know. But a lot of this talk is done by Barnes over here. And it's because he is the American lawyer. And usually that's the way that they play out. If you ever watch any of this, is Fry will ask the question and Barnes will answer it. And Fry will try to ask the most common questions that people are asking and just kind of ask for clarity. It's really good because he's a Canadian lawyer. He has a pretty good idea of what's going on both sides, because he doesn't know everything with American law, so he does too genuinely have these questions, but because he's also a lawyer, he also kind of knows what not to ask. It's like, yeah, that's not relevant, or this is a straw man, or whatever the case may be. And in the video, they talk about how, it sure is hypocritical of these people who will want to go around and they want to tell you that you don't have a choice with COVID, that you need to go out and have this shot, you need to get this vaccine. But then whenever it comes to this, they want to say, well, this is a woman's body, these are her rights, don't mess with it. It's like, excuse me? Well, you know what? This is still not your body. So you want everyone to ignore whatever's being said because this is going on inside her body with her. But with COVID, it's like, well, we're going to throw all that out, and we're going to force you to take a shot or to mask up and all these things. It's like, no, you know what? My body, my choice. The problem that I see with pregnancy, though, with this abortion stuff, is that this is the wrong time to be dealing with this. Do not tell me that you didn't have a choice. You had a choice with the person that you slept with. You had a choice with using contraception. You had a choice whether or not if you want to use the pill, the foam, if you want to use the shot, the morning after pill, if you want to use, if you want to go and buy a little box of protective stuff, which those things are just dirt cheap. So don't say that you didn't have a choice. You damn well had a choice. The questions are, what are some of the bigger specific issues that are coming up here? And they like, this is something that people who just, they want to virtue signal, and they want to get you as a gotcha kind of thing instead of actually making a point. They pull out these random few little nonsensical things that just don't ever happen. But they are still kind of valid to a point. Should a girl be allowed to get an abortion if she's been raped? It's like, well, a small percentage of women get raped. So right here, this is something that I pulled up here. This must have been an older one because I don't have a link to where I got this from. But fewer than 1% of all abortions take place because there has been rape or incest involved to create the pregnancy. So now, it's still bad, which is why they use this as an example. It's like, well, shouldn't they be allowed to get the rape or get the pregnancy aborted whenever they've been involved in rape or incest? I, myself, it's like, yes, that's their decision. The caveat to it is that, well, I still want them to know everything involved with it. So right here is an Elliott Institute study on rape-related pregnancies found that nearly 80% of the women that had the abortion, that they felt like that was the wrong solution. This is all. I want them to know it. This should not be a secret. Let the women know this, so then that way they're just as formed as they can be, and it's their choice. It shouldn't be anybody's say about what the woman should know or shouldn't know. And this is for any person with any decision out there. You need to know it all. I can say for myself that if men could get pregnant and I was raped, the answer for me would be, hell yes, I'm absolutely getting that abortion. A little more caveat to it, though, is that I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to wait 6 months, 6 weeks, 9 months. It's going to happen immediately. I'm going to do it as soon as I find out, whenever it's a clump of cells, and I'm not going to wait for it to grow and to fester and any of that stuff. I'm not going to look at a baby and see the face of my rapist every time I look at that baby. Screw that. And then we have these problems of where these women want to get an abortion, though, because, well, they went out and they had some fun, and then they regret doing it. And then they want to unilaterally decide for everybody, no matter what, that they're the only ones who have any say. It's like, no, the guys should have just as equal say with it. The only way that girl got pregnant was because of a guy. And the only way that guy can have a baby is through a girl. It takes both of them. They both have equal say. So again, the girl had a choice. She had a choice whenever she had sex. She had a choice whenever she decided to have sex without protection. She had a choice whenever she didn't take a pregnancy test, or that there's even some stuff that you can take immediately afterward. It's like, no. You got with the guy. You did more than just making out. You had sex, unprotected. So don't tell me your body, your choice. No, you had plenty of choices up until then. Now, whenever it is rape again, it's like, yes. I want to know, why does the woman have the right to kill the child? That if a man killed the child, he would go to jail, even during a pregnancy. A girl can go out and have an abortion and say, I don't want the baby. But if I, as a guy, come up and say, you're not going to have this child, we're going to have an abortion, and I hit her in her stomach to have a miscarriage, I would go to jail. If I put something in her food that made her have a miscarriage, I would go to jail. But she can just go do it with the blessing of the government? If the man decides that he wants to have the child, but she doesn't, I think the man should then be able to have that child, but he has to pay everything. You know, it depends on the two of them, not one, the two of them. If he wants to have the child and she wants nothing to do with it, then he has to pay for everything. He has to pay for her nutrition. He has to pay for all the doctor visits, for everything medically, with the doctors, nurses, hospitals, prescriptions. If she has to miss any work, then he has to compensate her for all that stuff. He's the one that wants to have the baby, so it's all on him. And the same thing in reverse. If she wants the baby, but he wants nothing to do with it, then he's not responsible. He can go, yeah, you know what? They should sign. It should be legal. It should show who wants the child and who doesn't. And if they both agree that they don't want the child, that they want to go ahead and have an abortion, it's like, well, again, it goes back to the moral issue. Is this right or is this wrong? It's like, I don't know, because I don't know if there's a God or not. And if so, which one is it? I don't know. Nobody knows. We're just all doing our best guess. And that's why I think that abortion should be legal, because if the atheists, for example, have it right, it's like, who am I to tell them no? Maybe they do have it right. I shouldn't have to pay for it, though. And that's a big question, too, is that if you allow abortions to happen, should taxpayers have to pay for it? Should any of this be funded by the government, such as Planned Parenthood? And the answer, for me at least, is no. Because what you're really talking about is, should the government pay for your mistakes? It's like, well, Mark, what makes you so special? We all are filled with mistakes throughout our entire lives. And I don't get anything like this. Do you? Probably not. I mean, unless if you're a woman, maybe there's some things, and it's like, why are you so entitled and privileged? Screw you. I want my money to go to my family, to my children, to my spouse. I have made good decisions. I didn't put myself in stupid situations, and I shouldn't have to pay for it because you didn't. There's this new YouTuber that I've just come across where he talks about this with, it's called Taylor the Fiend, and he talks about relationships, about how all of these women, especially young women, but older women too, they're just so privileged and entitled. He finds these videos on TikTok where these girls are just complaining and crying about all this stuff, and he's like, man, they just don't respect anybody. They don't even respect themselves. It's all about what they want to do. They make one bad decision after another. He says constantly, these girls have choices. There are plenty of guys who are willing to be with them. And they'll complain about how there's no good men. And he calls them, well, chads, I guess is the new thing that they say. That these girls go after chads, or in other words, guys that are out of their league. Because these girls have these stupid, messed up mentalities of thinking that they're more than what they are. And so they get with these chads, and these chads just kind of play them and use them. They kick them to the side, and they're like, well, I deserve this, and I deserve that. And I deserve to be with a guy who's 6 foot or more, who makes $100K, and these other list of factors. And it's like, no, you don't deserve a damn thing. And you don't deserve my respect or my sympathy. You're stupid. You made stupid choices. You played stupid games. You won stupid prizes. And it's not my fault. It's not my problem. There's nothing I can do about it. So some other questions are, why does the woman have the right to kill the child? Or, I'm sorry, I already said that one. Should a girl be allowed to abort a baby after being raped? Before you answer that, you need to ask this next question is, can you kill a person who raped you? So if you can't even kill a person who raped you, who actually did the act, then why do you think you should be able to kill the baby who had absolutely nothing to do with the rape? I understand that. I don't agree with it. I think that, yes, you should be allowed to abort the pregnancy, especially if it's early on. I think there comes a point in time, though, where it's like, no, you need to have the baby because you've allowed it to grow and to become a baby. 32.4% of victims do not discover they were pregnant until they had entered the second trimester. I don't know why this stuff is cut off. Did I just not copy and paste it right? And what about the rest, teens, adult women? And then right here, I put down how long is pregnancy. Pregnancy lasts for about 280 days or 40 weeks. A preterm or premature baby is delivered before 37, is it just cut off? Weeks of your pregnancy? Okay, yeah. Baby is delivered before 37 weeks of your pregnancy. Let me go ahead and make this a little bit larger over here too. Extremely preterm infants are born 23 to 28 weeks. Moderately premature infants are born 19 to 33 weeks. Late preterm infants are born between 34 and 37 weeks. So this stuff about 6 weeks, I don't agree with the length. I think there should be more leeway than just 6 weeks. I don't think it should be more than 2 months. And the reason for this is because, one, well, you know that you've been involved. That you know that you are sexually active or not. And women have a telltale sign, and that is they stop having their period. Because they're pregnant. So if you've missed 2 months and you've been screwing around, if you're having sex, especially if it's unprotected, and you're not taking a pregnancy test, and you haven't had your period, like that should be the telltale sign right there. You're having sex, you don't have a period, go take a pregnancy test. I don't understand it at all. And should the guy pay for half of it? It's like, yes, absolutely. Why the hell not? And if he doesn't, then I don't feel sorry for you. Why did you get involved with a guy that you don't even know if he's going to do something like that? Why are you having sex with a guy that you don't even... I mean, you're on the verge of creating a new life, which is this massive responsibility, and you don't even know if he'll cover a pregnancy test? How does that not make sense? Who is out there who would listen to something like this and not understand that? Why do they call it pro-life versus pro-choice instead of pro-death? Isn't that it? Pro-life and pro-death? I think it depends. I think if it's early on in the pregnancy, you're not killing a baby. Later, yes. It's definitely 6 months into it, it's like, yes, that is pro-life and pro-death. Absolutely, hands down. I think whenever you get into this, whenever you get into the 23rd week, that is the beginning of where it is absolutely pro-life versus pro-death. Now, before 23 weeks, I think that's whenever you can start making the argument of pro-choice and not pro-choice. It's like, should the woman have a choice? Or I should say the parents, should they have a choice in it? Yes. As to exactly where it is, should it be exactly at 23 weeks? I don't know. I don't know enough about the specifics about it. I think 6 weeks is too early. It's like a heartbeat. It's like, well, yeah, and there's some development with the fetus, but it doesn't look like a baby. It doesn't look anything like a baby. Alright, so like I said, it's been a while since I've looked into this. So here, just a little bit further down, I do have a link to it right here, so you can look at this and type it in and look for yourself. And it says, why would a woman have an abortion after 20 weeks? And it states that most don't. Only 1.2% of abortion procedures occur after 20 weeks. Which is about 7,480. So I talk about this before. It's like, well, 1% is a small number, but what's the base number that they're taking it out of? If they're talking about 1% out of just 100, well, then that's only one. But if you're talking about 1% out of, 100,000 pregnancies, then you're talking more like, hundreds. So what's the base number? So 1% is low, but 7,000 is that's high. Because pregnancy, it's men don't get pregnant. It's the women who do, technically. And it's not like young little girls. I mean, they have to go through puberty first, and it's not old women either. So the group is very small. And of that small little group, there's still 7,500 roughly there in 2016. So to continue, it's usually not something women delay by choice. The later the abortion, the more complicated the procedure and the more expensive it is. In fact, 58% of women who have had an abortion say they would have liked to have had it performed earlier in their pregnancy. All right, well then, if it's such a small percentage that even does it after 20 weeks, and 58% of them said that they would have liked to have had it done earlier. Why are we having such a big debate about having an abortion right up to the term of pregnancy, of the actual birth? Why is that a debate? I care about what the facts are. And so if these are the facts, which I'm going to assume they are because they did this research right here, this just reminds me of something like Black Lives Matter, where it's just a bunch of white women out there who are talking about it as if it's something that they know about white women or about black people. I saw this thing with Bill Burr where he saw an article. He was talking about how difficult it is to be a man who's rich and powerful, and all these women that'll come thrusting at you because of your money and your wealth, your power, and that there's nothing out there to help guys. And he saw one article one time about why powerful men get into all this trouble with women, and it was written by a woman. Here, let's just watch it so you can hear it from...
There isn't. There's nothing out there to help you handle becoming rich and famous. There's nothing to prepare you for that platoon of whores that's going to form on the horizon, right? Like Braveheart, faces painted, skirts on, run down the hill, they'll jump on your dick in front of your wife. They don't give a shit. There's not even a handbook out there. I saw one article written about it on the cover of Time magazine. It said, why do so many rich, famous, and powerful men act like absolute pigs, right? And the article was actually written by a woman. That's like me writing a book, The Third Trimester, and What to Expect. Ladies, you're gonna feel a pressure. How the hell would I know? You don't want to hear that from me, right? Then why is this woman telling me what it's like to have a dick?
Yeah, so, you know, why are these people talking about it like they know? It's like these white women, or any of these white people, they don't know what it's like to be black. But yet they speak for them. Same thing with these trans activists. They're speaking for these trans people. It's like, you don't know. Well, why are you doing this? You know, if you really cared about Black Lives Matter and all the police shootings that are going on, then you would also want to include every other person out there. So in other words, all Americans. Because if you want to change, then it's going to be easier to do the more people that you have on your side. And if you include everybody, but they're not interested in that. It's just a bunch of fundraising stuff, and it's the same thing with this. They don't care. This is such a small, minute percentage of the people that want to do this, because even though 7,500 is a large number in and of itself, well, whenever you compare it to the population and everyone who's out there, it's still small, which is why, and so this is 1.2% of abortion procedures. This isn't even of pregnancies. I didn't know there were that many abortions. So this was just about abortions only. Moving on. So why are some abortion procedures occurring after 20 weeks? Often the reason is medical. About 2% of all pregnancies suffered from a major birth defect, and often no medical treatment can save the fetus. And for many pregnant women, it's only in the 16 to 22 weeks that they would even have a hint that something may be fatally wrong with pregnancy. Okay, so there's another one. Should the woman be allowed to have an abortion if there's something wrong? If her life is in jeopardy, if the baby's life is in jeopardy, and they need to have the abortion done? Who says no to that? I have never heard of anybody anywhere ever saying, oh, no, I take that back. I read this article where it was in Ireland or somewhere in Britain or the UK, where there was this girl who was having complications with the pregnancy. She was being told to get an abortion. She was being told that her life was in jeopardy. but legally she could not get the abortion. And she ended up dying. It was ridiculous. It's because it's political. Because there's no common sense or reason or facts or nothing to back up why a woman is having medical complications, why she shouldn't be allowed to have an abortion. There's no such thing as absolutes that I've seen with anything anywhere. That there's always an exception to the rule. This is definitely one of them. And then they went on to say, does the federal and state bans have exceptions for these and other extenuating situations? No. The House bill will make no exception for fatal birth defects or the health of the pregnant woman. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So I try to go over some straw man questions, statements, and the response. I am pro-choice because a pregnancy should never be mandatory. It's not mandatory. You have choices with contraception or just by not having sex. It really starts to become mandatory with the pregnancy when you actually get pregnant because you chose to ignore all your other options. I'm pro-choice because sex is a natural aspect of human life. There are things that are natural but wrong. Nature does not care about right or wrong. That's right. We know what true atheism looks like, and that's nature. Animals have no concept at all of God, right or wrong or anything. They will go out and rape, kill, steal anything, anywhere, whenever they feel like it, as long as they feel like that they can get away with it. I am pro-choice because contraception is infrequently unavailable. Condoms are cheap and everywhere. Same thing with going and getting on the pill. There are clinics all over the place. I have no idea what that is. It's just a ridiculous statement. I'm pro-choice because bodily autonomy is a basic human right. No, it's not. My body does things all the time that I have no control over that I don't like. You don't have any right to what it is that your body does. Your body just does things and it just does it. You just grow old. It just happens. You get diseases, you get sick, you get injured. It just happens. And again, it's like, it's the same thing that's been said many times, is that, again, you had the choice what you wanted to do with your body when you decided to have unprotected sex. I'm pro-choice because I support the mental health and well-being of the woman. That's not what you're talking about. That's one of the that's a strong straw man right there. It's like we're not talking about the health and the well-being of just a woman. We're also talking about the man and this child. It goes back to that Tyler the Fiend, where he shows all these TikTok videos, and he just constantly points it out about how these girls, it's just all about them, and then they'll cry about a situation and they just never talk about how they're to blame in any way for any of it. They just don't own up with a damn thing. Now, of course, it's not all women, but the ones that he shows, and there's a lot of them, and it seems to be more and more prevalent with younger girls. You know, you can also say, well, what about the mental health and the well-being of the man? Was he lied to by this woman? Did he think they were going to get married and have children, and he was looking forward to this, and he ended up investing all of his time, money, and resources into this woman, and it was all a lie? Because now here it is, they finally got pregnant, and she's going to back down. It's like, that's not fair to him. And especially if you're later term in the pregnancy, well, what about the child? Because there definitely comes a time, definitely at that 23-week stage for sure. It's like it's no longer just about you. And it never was. It took two to do that tango. I'm pro-choice because it's time for men to stop dictating the actions of women. It's like, no, I'm not. There is no man dictating this stuff to women. You know why? Because I'm not dictating to any woman, because I'm not there dictating to this woman saying, go and have sex with men without protection. I'm not doing that. You are coming after the fact. After it's all been said and done. Now, here at the end, you want something done about it. It's like, no, I am dictating my taxpayer money. I am pro-choice because pregnancy and childbirth is a massive financial undertaking. And who says the man doesn't have equal financial responsibility? If they both want to have this child, then they should share in that financial responsibility. But if only one of them wants to have the child, then that's the only person who should be paying the financial responsibility with this. And there's more nuances and caveat to it. If they find out very early, the earlier that they find out that they're pregnant, and one of them decides no, then that puts off that person. It's easier to say no. But if they wait until like 9 weeks, it's like or 9 months, it's like, no, that's kind of come and gone. Y'all let this both go for 9 months. So it depends. Who says the man doesn't have equal financial responsibility? I am pro-choice because there are too many orphan children in the world. Okay, well, you don't have to give up your child. Again, where was all this beforehand? All these statements, it's at the end. It's after all this has been said and done. I am pro-choice because teenage pregnancy is still incredibly preventable. It's like wrong. You're talking about teenage sex, not pregnancy. That the teenager made a bunch of stupid decisions, and that's why it happened in the first place. You're not addressing the issue. You know what? If they learned how to have responsible sex, or how about this? How about teenagers not have sex in the first damn place? Then all this just is not even a factor anymore. I am pro-choice because illegal, and unsafe abortions should never be the last resort. Well, I guess with this Texas stuff, there are going to be a lot of illegal instances. And unsafe abortions, don't give me this. Abortions have been going on forever. So I don't know. I'll retract that. I'll go back. But it's the same with all of these, I think, so far, is that why did it even get to this point in the first place? I did this paper back whenever I was in college. I went back to finish up my degree, and one of the things that we had to do in business law was we talked about the financial boom that happened with the housing market in 2008. And one of the partners in my group, idiot, he said, well, everybody wanted to know why the housing market bursted in the first place. It's like, no, wrong. I didn't say anything, because it's like, he's a part of the group too. So, but the answer is that no, we found absolutely nothing about that. Everyone wanted to know, why did the bubble happen in the first place? Because if there wasn't a bubble in the first place, then there was nothing to pop. There was nothing to worry about. The reason why that happened was because Obama came along and said that everybody was entitled to houses, and so they lowered the standards for the loans that the banking and the financial institutions had. which then qualified people who should have been unqualified. So that's how they got all these stupid, crappy BS loans out there to all these people. It shouldn't have happened in the first place. Same thing with all this. None of this should have happened in the first place. I'm pro-choice because abortion is not equivalent to murder. Depends on when you're talking about. If you're talking about... Oh, I need to add that. Alright, so I don't know if you know who this is, but this is Tom MacDonald. He sings, and he's got a song called People So Stupid. And in it, and I'll play a little bit of it here in a minute. So the question was, I am pro-choice because abortion is not equivalent to murder. And one of his lines is, bacteria is life on Mars, but a heartbeat isn't life on Earth. Another one is, are cells living like cells of the leaves on a tree? No, plant life. They're cells, right? Well, I don't know. So is the fetus the start of the human life cycle? It's just a clump of cells, right? And so if the cells are living and you kill them, is it murder? Because that is the start of the human life cycle, isn't it? Let's go ahead and listen to this little bit of his song here.
Talk about abortion. Sorry, tell me how this works. Bacteria is life on Mars, but a heartbeat isn't life on Earth? Weird. You're so stupid. Why are you so stupid? Better problems, I swear to God, I want them, you're so dumb. People so stupid, people so dumb, people so rude, Get better issues, we're gonna run out of tissues, it's so dumb.
I like that. Get better issues, we're going to run out of tissues. It's so dumb. And I believe this girl here is his sister. If anyone knows, I would like to know that. Give me a little shout out in the comment if you know. I am pro-choice because I support the empowerment and advancement of women. How the hell does that accomplish it? Only women have the power to really get pregnant, and it's because you can say no. And if you say no and the guy doesn't, then that's a whole different thing, because that's rape again. And we've already gone over how rape is, it's like, yes, you should be able to decide on that. So we already dealt with rape. So whenever we're going over all this stuff, it's like, no, rape was dealt with. We're not talking about rape anymore. I'm not going to go over the rest of this. The video's long enough. So again, I'm not trying to change anyone's minds with this. I have my feelings towards this, but just because these are my feelings, I'm not trying to make them yours. I just wanted to bring this information so that you can decide for yourself. And that people lie. People are lying all about this. Well, hearing this now, are you really confused about it? I know I'm not. I'm not confused about this stuff. And this, I wanted to say one more thing on this little conversation that they have in the Texas heartbeat law. I like where this is going. I like that, while I don't know how people are really going to kind of go about doing this, I like this checks and balances that's being missed within the government. I think that if you have the evidence, that it should be easier for people to take the government and politicians and whoever to court. That if something blatantly evil, wrong, illegal is going on, I guess illegal is going on, then anybody should be able to do this. I'll give an example in a different circumstance. There were pictures and videos of federal agents at the border taking illegal immigrants crossing them at the gate, putting them in vehicles, and smuggling them into the U.S. It's literally human trafficking that's going on in the southern borders of Texas. Why didn't any Texas law enforcement officials arrest them for human trafficking? Or better yet, why can't we? I think for a little icing on the cake for all this stuff is that, yes, I think that we should absolutely be able to go up and to arrest those officials. Whether if they're law enforcement, politicians, whatever. Now, you do have to have proof. You are going to have to pay for it. But if you win, you should be completely reimbursed with all of them. And you should get something extra. You should be incentivized for going after wrongdoing. Because this is going to make everyone think twice about putting these laws into effect. Because right now, politicians, they can just go off and they can do this at a whim. And it doesn't matter. One of them is this eviction moratorium thing that's been going on. These politicians put this all into play, and now they're not here to deal with it, and it's like, what do they care? There's no repercussions whatsoever. So it's like, yeah, why not go ahead and do it? But what if there was some kind of accountability? What with, at least with some of these laws, that it's like, holy crap, if I pursue this, I could get in trouble. They could take money away from me. I could be put in jail or prison or whatever. Then they couldn't just go off and just say whatever the crowd wanted to. You would have to actually formulate your argument, your talking points, instead of just blabbering off a bunch of platitudes and nonsense. So with that part of it, I do like it. It's not far enough though. I don't know, maybe it hasn't, but they didn't say anything. I'm going to assume that it's not. But I think that if you really wanted people to be able to go after and to do this, then there has to be something. There's not, they didn't take the checks and balances far enough. I think having it, like, perhaps you could have an abortion up to 20 weeks, and then after that, then that would be illegal unless you have, like, medical circumstances involved, for example. And then you could sue the parties involved, and they would have to pay all legal fees, and then also you would get paid. What comes to mind is there was this guy who was going around to bars and nightclubs suing all of them for having a girls' night, saying that that was sexist, that was discriminating against men. And the guy won all the time, and he was making a living doing this, going around all over the place. It's like, that's how it should be. You should be able to go out and to punish people who are breaking the law. And then that way, everyone really has to think about it. It's like, okay, well, do we really want to make this a law? Because the politicians should not be excluded from this. I'm almost an hour into this. I get going too much. So if you've understood all of this, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. If you want to help a little bit further, if things are going well, I also have Patreon and Subscribe Star. Thanks a lot for watching. See you again later. Bye.